They say one of their achievements for the year is bringing peace to Syria. And the whole world's talking about it. It's the level of stupidity is incredible. I'm telling you, I used to use the word incompetent. Now I just call them stupid. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid.
You know, people ask me all the time or leave comments in the comments section, something along the lines of, Lou, why are you wasting time, quote unquote, wasting time on the Pac-12 or whatever the video happens to be that, you know, maybe they're not interested in or they think it's a pointless video or not worth talking about or whatever. And I'm honestly, during these conference week videos I've been doing, I've been getting a lot of comments like that. But today's video is a perfect example of one of the reasons why I do a lot of these videos. Yeah, I make the videos to try to entertain or inform you guys or whatever. And look, I get it. You know, anytime I make you mad about something or say something you disagree with, then I'm just an idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't know football, doesn't understand football. He's never seen a game. Woo, never even seen a game. Yeah, I've never, yeah. But listen, one of the reasons why I make these kinds of, I'm doing the Pac-12 coaches today, ranking the Pac-12 coaches. I could have named all of these coaches. It's not that I didn't know any of them existed or anything like that, but when to get ready, I mean, I spent an hour and a half this morning ranking these coaches, and in doing that, it forces me to, you know, look things up. Anyway, the point is, I learn a lot just from making a video like this. So sure, the point of any video I make is so hopefully you guys will watch it, but that's not always the main purpose behind why I make a video. You know, I started doing these conference weeks last season and really branching out past the SEC. And I'd be lying if I told you I didn't learn any. I mean, I learned a whole lot from doing these videos. And like I said, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, you know, this guy's just an idiot or, you know, it's funny too. I make a video that somebody agrees with and, you know, oh, this guy's fair and balanced and blah, blah, blah. And then 3 months later, you know, the same guy leaves a comment about what an idiot I am because I make a video he disagrees with. And that just goes with the territory. But whatever you think I know or don't know about college football, if I didn't do videos like this, it would be less than that. So, you know, I hope, you know, maybe you'll learn something in today's video too. I obviously don't expect everybody or hardly anybody really to agree exactly with my rankings here. But I was surprised here. The Pac-12 has got some pretty good coaches, and it sort of surprised me really how good some of them are. Anyway, let's get into today's video ranking the Pac-12 coaches. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and sometimes they're even watchable. I don't know about this video. I think it's watchable. Like I said in the beginning, I really learned a lot in making some notes for this video. I hope you guys will learn something too. Let me know down in the comments below at the end of this video where you think my rankings might have gone wrong. If you're a fan of one of these coaches or a Pac-12 team, or you're excited about the start of the college football season, give this video a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you anything or take you hardly any time at all, but it's a huge help to me and I would appreciate it. All right, we're gonna rank the Pac-12 coaches. Here we go. A real quick announcement here. A couple of more days of Pac-12 videos, and then we'll have 4 or 5 days of SEC videos, and then we'll have the 24-hour live stream. Most of you guys who've been keeping up know that. I think I've said a bunch of times that we're gonna start the live stream on Friday, July 12th and run it through Saturday, July 13th. I'm thinking about moving that back one day and starting it on a Saturday instead of starting it on a Friday, because I'm thinking about starting it late morning or like noon at the latest, and I just think it might make more sense to do that on a Saturday through Sunday type of deal than a Friday through Saturday. So stay tuned. Sometime the next couple of days, I'll nail that down. But instead of the 12th and the 13th, the 24-hour live stream may end up being the 13th and the 14th. We'll see. All right, after a whole bunch of coaching changes after the 2017 season in the Pac-12, only one new coach after the 2018 season in the Pac-12, and that, of course, is Mel Tucker over at Colorado. He replaces Mike McIntyre. Mel Tucker, of course, former defensive coordinator under Kirby Smart the last 3 years at the University of Georgia. He moves out west, gets himself his first head coaching job out in the Pac-12 at Colorado. Colorado, not a good team here lately. I mentioned he replaces Mike McIntyre. McIntyre had been there since 2013. Here's his win total since 2013. 4 wins, 2 wins, 4 wins, 10 wins, 5 wins, 5 wins. 1 10-win season, 1 bowl-eligible season. Not very good. No surprise they decided to make a change. I don't rank the new coaches within the list of existing coaches, so I'm not saying he's the worst coach in the Pac-12, but he's never been a head coach. Listen, it's hard enough to rank a coach if he's been coaching 10 years somewhere and then takes a job at a new school. Guy who's never been a head coach before, hard to rank him. He could be one of the worst head coaches we've ever seen. He could end up being one of the best. We really just don't know. Honestly, we don't. But Mel Tucker takes over out in Colorado, the only new coach this season in the Pac-12. All right, that leaves us with 11 returning coaches within the Pac-12. And like I mentioned, there was a whole bunch of coaching changes after the 2017 season. So you got a lot of coaches on this list who only have 1 year at their current school. I'll point those out as we come along to them. And that's the case with my 11th ranked coach here, head coach of Oregon State, Jonathan Smith. This will be his 2nd year there. Last year he was 2-10. Does this mean Jonathan Smith will be a terrible coach forever? No. Oregon State's been a terrible team for a long time, but 2-10 doesn't even really give you any reason to be optimistic. I read a few articles about him where, towards the end of the season, their offense did this or such and such player started doing that. And, 2-10 is 2-10, no matter how you slice it. It's hard to look at that in a glass half full type of way. There was no one else I really even considered here for the 11 spot. I've got Jonathan Smith right now, the worst returning coach in the Pac-12. All right, coming in at 10th, I have Cal head coach Justin Wilcox. Not a lot of data to go on here. 5-7, 7-6. This will be his 3rd season. We'll see how he does. Lost last year in the Cheez-It Bowl. Dead last in the Pac-12 last year in points per game. Dead last in the Pac-12 last year in yards per game. Just over 300 yards a game. 21.5 points a game. You're not going to win very many games at any level of football, especially the Power 5 these days. Only scoring 21.5 points a game. Got to do a whole lot better offensively if you're going to do anything in any conference. The Pac-12, no different. You got teams like, of course, Oregon, Washington. Chip Kelly at UCLA wants to score a lot of points. You're going to stay at the bottom of this list if you can't score more than 3 touchdowns a game. But I've got him coming in 10th on the list this year. All right, number 9, I've got Clay Helton. Listen, this is a what have you done for me lately type of world, college football, right? No one cares that Clay Helton won 10 games a few years ago. They go 5-7 last year. Now listen, you look at the roster that Southern Cal has, you look at the division they play in, you look at the recruiting hotbed they're in. I talked a lot about this on yesterday's video with Clay Helton. There is no excuse for anybody to be going 5-7 at Southern Cal. They're just not. They had one of the top 5 most talented rosters in all of college football last year, according to 24/7 Sports, which tracks these things on a rolling 4-year basis, right, based on recruits and transfers and things like that. They had a top 5 team in terms of overall talent and couldn't even make a bowl game. A lot of people were surprised he didn't get fired at the end of last year. But this is definitely a make or break year for Clay Helton. My thoughts are well known on him. I'm not a fan of Clay Helton. I think he's in over his head there, along with Willie Taggart at Florida State. But 5-7 and listen, 6, 7, 8 wins is not going to be enough to save his job, in my opinion. Southern Cal should be winning 10 games a year in that division in the Pac-12. 5-7 is absolutely pitiful. Urban Meyer is waiting out there on the West Coast, in my opinion, to take that job next year. We'll see, but I've got Clay Helton right now at 9th. All right, now we start getting to some of the things that kind of surprised me about where I ended up ranking these coaches within the Pac-12. But at number 8, I've got Kevin Sumlin. Things didn't go his way at Texas A&M, and I looked at that situation with him at Texas A&M, and I feel like I may have given him too much of a benefit of the doubt. You had a lot of people saying, well, it's the toughest division in football. You got to play Alabama every year. LSU is there. Auburn is good once every 4 or 5 years or so, and you got to play them. There was some issues with racism there, even including some high-level boosters and things like that. I sort of brushed off, I think, some of Kevin Sumlin's disappointments at Texas A&M. But you look at what he did year one last year at Arizona, 5-7. And again, the Pac-12 South is probably one of the worst 3 or 4 divisions in football, in my opinion. A whole bunch of 500 teams. It reminds me of that division in the ACC. But 5-7, not good. Yeah, Khalil Tate, a guy that a lot of people expected to make some noise with the Heisman race. Kevin Sumlin had some success with quarterbacks like Khalil Tate, run-around type quarterbacks. Think of your Johnny Manziel type QBs. Terrible last year, 5-7. And here's the issue. Rich Rod was there before Kevin Sumlin, and of course they fired him. You look at Rich Rod, 8 wins his first year there, but here's his win totals by year, Rich Rod. 8, 10, 7, 3, 7. And then they fired him after that last 7-win season. So, yeah, Rich Rod had that one terrible season of 3 wins. But this is about an 8-win average here. A little under 8-win average here. Someone comes in and goes 5-7. This is another guy here that I think needs to make a drastic turnaround year 2. I'm not ready to throw the towel in yet on Kevin Sumlin. There's still a possibility he ends up being a pretty good coach. But let's just be honest, so far, he just hasn't proven it. Whether it was at Texas A&M, we all know the story there, like I mentioned in the beginning. Lots of late season collapses at Texas A&M. Comes to Arizona, 5-7. Got to do a lot better than that. But he comes in 8th on my list this year. All right, 7th. Now here's one where I was sort of wrong the opposite way. I didn't have any faith in this guy at all. And I'm not here to tell you that he's going to end up being, the saving grace or anything, but he did it. The possibility exists, and it looks like he may be better than what I gave him credit for when he was hired. This is another guy who comes in. This will be his 2nd year. Herm Edwards, Arizona State. I was very critical, very hard on this hire. Cattle Dog, good morning. Yeah. Not a lot of college experience, and you got to go back a long time in Herm Edwards' career to find any at all. No coaching experience at all in the last decade or so. Guy's been hiding on a set on ESPN forever covering the NFL. It's sort of an out-of-the-blue hire here by Arizona State. Of course, there was a connection there where, is it the athletic director? I think it's the athletic director at Arizona State and Herm Edwards had the same agent, or anyway, it was something like that. And I just wasn't a fan of this hire. He comes in and goes 7-6. And now, is that a great season? No. Is it a huge improvement over what they did the year before he got there? No. They were 7-6 the year before he got there too. But I thought Herm Edwards was going to fall flat on his face. I was expecting. I wasn't expecting 0-12, but it wouldn't have surprised me at all to see Herm Edwards come into Arizona State and completely sink that ship and win, 3, 4, 5 games, something like that. They end up 7-6. I got to give credit where it's due here. Again, not saying he's a great coach or anything like that, but he's a little bit better, I think, than what I gave him credit for when he was hired. Herm Edwards, Arizona State, 7th on my list this year. All right, the top 6 coaches in the Pac-12, and this is where it starts to get a little bit hard to rank these coaches, and this is where I feel like while I was doing the research for this video and writing this stuff down, I was like, wow, some of these coaches are pretty good. And I have Mario Cristobal 6th, Oregon head coach. Now, listen, this is, again, a guy going into only his 2nd year in the Pac-12, okay? But he goes 9-4 last year, replacing Willie Taggart. Oregon fans are looking around going, thank God we got rid of that guy. He was only there 1 year. But, they got to be thinking they're lucky stars that they got rid of him or he left or whatever it was, because the guy's a disaster, Willie Taggart is. Mario Cristobal, Oregon, 9-4. A lot of people are really high on Mario Cristobal. I'm one of them, I'll be honest. He's an elite recruiter. No one denies that or doubts that. Of course, #1 player in the nation, depending on where you look. for the 2019 class. Thibodeau, Cristobal was able to reel him in at Oregon. So things heading in the right direction there in terms of recruiting. 9-4. Now, we've seen Oregon have, 10, 11, 12 win seasons. 9-4, not bad, though. Talks Justin Herbert into coming back. That may be the greatest recruiting job of all time, getting him to come back for this year. A lot of people high on Oregon this year. Mario Cristobal can rocket up this list in a hurry if Oregon wins the Pac-12 this year, especially if they end up making the college football playoff or something like that. But this just goes to show, I think, how good the top 6 coaches in the Pac-12 either are or have the potential to be when you have somebody like Mario Cristobal, who most people think is going to be a really good head coach, sitting all the way down at number 6. All right, number 5, I have Mike Leach. Now, you guys know every offseason I do a video called like my top 5 favorite coaches. And when I do that video, it has nothing to do with win-loss records, how good of an X's and O's guys they are, how good of a recruiter they are, anything like that. It's just purely my top 5 favorite from an entertainment value perspective. Maybe they're so bad that they give me a ton of material to use on YouTube. Maybe their press conferences are so entertaining. That's the case here. Mike Leach, number 5, Washington State. He makes that list every year. Mike Leach is a hell of a coach, though. Now, my worry about Mike Leach, especially if I'm currently a Washington State fan, which is where he's coaching, is that Mike Leach has a ceiling. It could be that Mike Leach could take almost any team in America, Power 5-wise, to 9, 10, or even 11 wins. The question is going to be, and is going to remain until he proves someone wrong, can he ever win more than that? Because so far he hasn't done it. But 11-2 last year at Washington State, and that was sort of out of the blue. Not a lot of people expected that. Great QB play last year, so they got to replace that this year. At least I think they do. I think they lost that quarterback. A new one coming in, supposed to be pretty good, though. And Mike Leach is always going to have a high-powered offense going all the way back to his days at Texas Tech, right? But he's in his 8th season at Washington State. And, 3 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins. But then the last 4 years, 9, 8, 9, and 11 wins. Made the Alamo Bowl last year. The problem with Mike Leach has been he can't get to a conference title game. Going all the way back to his days at, like I mentioned, Texas Tech. What was it, 2011? I could be wrong about the year. Anyway, it was either his last year or his next to last year, I think, at Texas Tech. He split the Big 12 South. Back then they had 2 divisions. It was a 3-way tie. It was Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and I think Texas split that division. Anyway, Oklahoma ended up being the one that played in the Big 12 title game, not Texas Tech. So great year for Texas Tech, but they didn't make the Big 12 title game. Then you fast forward, Washington State, 3 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins. Last 4 years, 9 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins. Last year gets all the way up to 11 wins, but doesn't even win the division, doesn't make the title game. But the point is, Texas Tech and Washington State, not necessarily 2 traditionally great football programs. And for Mike Leach to get both of those teams consistently in the 8, 9, 10, 11 win mark is nothing short of a miracle, in my opinion. Like I said, the question mark on him is that he has a ceiling based primarily on the type of offense that he runs. He's going to get you so far, almost no matter where he coaches at, but so far not able to break through that ceiling. But I've got him 5th on my list of Pac-12 coaches this year, 2019. All right, number 4 falls into the category. This is a phrase I use probably way too much on here. Boy, this coach gets the absolute most out of the talent he has available based on who he's able to recruit because of the school he's at. You guys hear me say that all the time. I tend to, fixate on certain coaches and not get obsessed with them, but just like, wow, get impressed. Kyle Whittingham, Utah. Who's going to Utah? You know how hard it is to go sit in a high school senior's living room and convince them to go to college in Utah? It's not easy. Kyle Whittingham, 9-5, finally wins the division last year to Pac-12 South. Lost a close one to Washington in the Pac-12 title game. It was a weird game, like 10-3. But how long has Kyle Whittingham been at Utah? Quick guess. 15 years. That's a long time. Of course, not all of that time was spent in the Pac-12, right? Utah just joined the Pac-12 when the conferences expanded and realigned and all that back in 2011. So been in the Pac-12 for 8 or 9 years now. Title game last year, I mentioned losing to Washington, right? Been there forever. I hate to keep saying it, but it's Utah. Gets the most out of the available talent. I don't see how you can argue that point. Another trivia question here. Kyle Whittingham been at Utah for 15 years. Who was the coach at Utah before Kyle Whittingham? Urban Meyer! All right, number 3 on my list, I'm going to contradict myself just a little bit. Back when I talked about Clay Helton all the way down at number 9, I said, college football is a what have you done for me lately type of business. Well, I've got Chip Kelly at 3rd. But listen, just like I said, Mario Cristobal has a chance to really shoot up this list with another good season or two. Chip Kelly has just as good of a chance of falling way down this list if he doesn't get things figured out at UCLA in a hurry. I'm giving Chip Kelly maybe too much credit on this ranking here for what he did at Oregon, because if you look at what happened at UCLA last year, it's hard to justify a number 3 ranking. And this, if I had to guess, I'm going to say that this is probably going to be the one that I get the most grief about in the comments section. But Chip Kelly comes into UCLA last year, first year, 3-9. That's pitiful. That's absolutely pitiful. Even with that 3-9 season, though, Chip Kelly's overall record as a Power 5 head coach is 49-16. So if you take last season away, that's 46-7. 46-7 as a head coach heading into last year. So I think the guy has earned one freebie, at least, one do-over. Now, he's got to get this drastically turned around this year, like I said, or I promise you, I will drop him way down this list. But let's look at UCLA here. You've got to go all the way back. When was the last time UCLA had a season this bad, 3-9? You got to go all the way back to 1989. That was a long time ago. They went 3-7-1. So what is that? 30 years ago, they were 3-7-1. Now here they are sitting at 3-9 after last season. What were their win totals before that? 9 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins, 8 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins. This is terrible. But like I said, Chip Kelly has, he's built up enough kudos or whatever you want to call it from his time at Oregon to where I think he's earned the right for people to sort of give him a break on this one bad year. He runs a very specific style of offense, right? And UCLA did not have those type of players that he needed. Will they have him in year 2? I'm not so sure of that either, but you got to do better than 3 wins. You got to make a bowl this year, I think, if you're UCLA, or things are just not looking good. But I've got him 3rd on the list for this year, but you better get it together or he's going to tumble way down next year. All right, number 2, one of my favorite coaches in all of college football, David Shaw at Stanford. I like the style of football that David Shaw plays. Stanford is a place that's hard to recruit to for a variety of reasons, right? They sort of get lost in the shuffle in terms of the California schools. They have higher academic standards than a lot of other schools have. David Shaw has been a great coach and done a great job at Stanford. What is he, 82-26, something like that. 3 conference titles, 2 Rose Bowl wins, 4 Coach of the Year, Pac-12 Coach of the Year awards. Look at his win totals, 11, 12, 11, 8, 12, 10, 9, 9. I mean, he's had back-to-back 9-win seasons, and that's considered a downward trend. That tells you how good Stanford has been under David Shaw. Of course, he took over for Jim Harbaugh when Jim Harbaugh left. And if you go back and look at Jim Harbaugh's record, David Shaw actually has had more success, I think, at Stanford than what Jim Harbaugh had. Jim Harbaugh, of course, had Andrew Luck, whereas David Shaw hasn't necessarily had that luxury. But anyway, I digress. 11 wins, 12 wins, 11 wins, 8 wins. What a terrible season, 8 wins. 12 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins, and 9 wins. This guy gets it done year in and year out. They're one of the favorites to win the division, it seems like, every single year. They never have a terrible year. Look, the down year is 8 wins here. That's playing football at a consistently high level. When your down years are 8 wins. Look around some of the other football teams that we like to pick on around here and see how many 4, 5, 6 win seasons you can find. A bunch of them. Stanford, 8 wins is a down year. I really like David Shaw. He comes in number 2 on my list of coaches in the Pac-12. And I don't think anybody will be surprised here, but Chris Peterson is the best coach in the Pac-12 in 2019. The guy, we all remember what he did at Boise State, comes to Washington and has completely turned them around. I think Washington is so good right now and so consistently good right now. I think people forget how bad they were before Chris Peterson got there, but don't worry, I'm going to remind you. But they go 10-4 last year, won the Pac-12 again, 3 straight 10-win seasons. They've made a playoff. They got to win some bowl games. And here's the knock, not just on Washington, but the Pac-12 in general and why they catch a lot of grief. Washington has been consistently the best team in the Pac-12 over the last 3, 4, 5 years. I know Oregon was really good from, maybe whatever you want to say, 2010 to 2014. But then it's sort of been Washington's league from then till now. 3 straight bowl losses. Losing to Auburn in the regular season opener last year. The Pac-12 has got to start winning some of these big-time non-con games, whether it's regular season or bowl season. You got to start winning some. But when your best team is getting housed 3 straight years in the bowl game, it just doesn't look good. Chris Peterson's got to get that turned around. 8 wins his first year, then 7 wins. But the last 3 years, 12 wins, 10 wins, and 10 wins. The 12-win season, of course, the year they made the playoffs. 2 conference titles in the last 3 years. When was Washington's last 10-win season before Chris Peterson got there? Now, Chris Peterson's got 3 straight 10-plus win seasons at Washington. The last 3 years, 10 or more games, 10, 10, and 12. Prior to that, how far back do you have to go to find a 10-win season at Washington? 2000. Before that, it was 1991. So from 1992 to the time Washington hired Chris Peterson, they had 1 10-win season. He's now had 3 in a row. I really, all these coaching lists I make are subjective and completely up for debate. I'm 100% positive Chris Peterson is the best coach in the Pac-12. I don't expect to get very many disagreements on that in the comment section either, which means I probably will get some now since I said that. But look what he's done, consistent. Judges' days at Boise State, Judges' days at Washington. The guy's been consistently one of the best coaches in college football for the better part of the last 10 years. I think Chris Peterson is a top 5 coach in all of college football. And if you want to look at David Shaw, I think David Shaw is a top 10 coach in all of college football. So the Pac-12, in my opinion, has 2 of the top 10 coaches in all of college football with Chris Peterson and David Shaw. And I have them coming in at number 1 and 2, respectively, on my list of Pac-12 coaches for 2019. All right, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again real soon. Have a good morning.
I'll be in the kitchen cooking pies with my baby.